brought this amendment and massacred the bill. That bill was dead. The leadership was not going to send it to a committee unless we came in and put local control back in. Just that simple. The bill would not have even gone to committee. What my committee did was change it accordingly to put it back to local control. We aren't just talking about schools. We're talking about the capital. We're talking about city council chambers. We're talking about county commission chambers. And so we brought that aspect back under the guise of saying these are elected officials. Let them make up their own mind. You know, if they want to do it, let them do it. You know, if there's rural schools out there 30 miles out of town, the local district wants to figure out a way to arm somebody out there because of the distance for support from sheriff's office and everything. We felt that because they're elected by the people in their district that they had the right to do that. And so it was, the bill was dead. And I'm telling you flat out, it was flat dead in the Senate because the leadership, and I don't make those decisions. President Nicholas and the majority floor leader and the vice president Senate make those decisions. Said we aren't going to do anything with this bill unless we figure out a way for local control. I said, well, we'll figure that out. That's all we really did was put local control.
Mr. Kurtz?
I just wanted to talk about a little bit of my own research and maybe why I personally would support the local control amendment as a school district superintendent. I think what comes with local control, I had a discussion with a school district in Texas about 3 years ago. It was right after Sandy Hook. And they had had guns in their school for many, many years. And they had a policy in place that was very tailored to their school. They said what type of gun people could carry. Nobody in their school carries a revolver. It had to be a semi-automatic. And the reason for that actually surprised me. If a teacher was, for some reason, they dropped their gun, and any child, a kindergartner, can pick up a revolver and shoot it. Whereas a semi-automatic without one in the pipe, as they said, it takes a lot more muscle control, rack the slide, get one in. So that was a policy that they had. They also said what types of bullets they could carry. They had to be the fractile bullets that, you know, they hit a hard surface, they come apart, they don't go through walls, you don't inadvertently kill a kid on the other side of that wall. If the school district does not have some semblance of control over that, you might have collateral damage that you don't want, and you might have an accident that you don't want. So in Meeteetse, our board has had a lot of discussions that, you know, we feel very exposed in Meeteetse. We've had calls out there where it has been 45 minutes before we get a sheriff's deputy out there if one of our local guys isn't on duty. So we've actually figured out some really creative safety measures in our school that I'm not going to discuss here, but suffice to say, someone walks into our school, it's not going to be, please don't shoot me. That's the last position that we wanted our kids in. But I've been an advocate of opening this up for districts to choose since Sandy Hook. And, you know, for a while, I was in the minority. I've been in discussions with superintendents where I felt like I was fighting for my life. And I think that everybody recognizes that it is a more dangerous world today than it was a decade ago. And the last thing that we want is our teachers to be in a position where they just, all they have at their disposal is, please don't shoot me. Please don't shoot my kids. So, to me, we're going to have to find a way to meet in the middle on this somehow. And it can't be all or nothing. It just can't. That's not compromising. And a compromise is the only way we're gonna get something done. If it goes to our legislature, just like 114, Senator Coe said, it was dead. And I believe that if it goes back again, it's dead again, unless there's some sort of a compromise. So I guess I would encourage the legislature, and I know nothing's gonna happen in the budget session here, but over the next year, I would really encourage maybe as an interim topic, that we discuss, and as Mr. Mitchell said, let's take some testimony, and let's have a civil conversation, and let's look at all the aspects of this. And I know where my position would be, and, I want guns in my school. I do. I would do that tomorrow if we had the ability to arm some of our staff. I don't think the answer is to just let anyone carry a gun on a school campus. That's not my position.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, Ms. Weber.
Well, I think if we had a House bill, Model 114 again, get rid of the gun-free zones, we know that is an limitation. That's endangering our kids. I think we could have anyone carry a CCW in the schools and then have board policy which dictate how the staff should handle their weapons. Frag bullets education, perhaps, as you say, a semi-automatic without a round in the chamber that would cause, that would be, if dropped or left somewhere, a young kid would be able to chamber it. But I think that if you passed what you're advocating, that model where there's only 30 people in each school, you're going to have an outcry from people that say, people that have CCWs or those who wish to carry in the schools, their constitutional rights are being abridged. And why, you can't just say, it'd be like saying, all right, only 30 people in Part 6 are allowed to exercise their First Amendment rights. They can. Only 30 people can write letters to the editor and go to these meetings and do that. It would be very akin to that. And you would have an outcry to the legislation, like that teacher's carrying, that superintendent's carrying, that board member's carrying, why can't I carry? I'm sitting with my 5 kids at a basketball game with my wife, that's my greatest assets, I can't protect them. We've been shown that in gun-free zones, that's where they strike. That's what we're seeing.
Just to follow up real quick, and I don't disagree with you, and I wouldn't advocate for just 30. I don't think there would have to be a cap. I think, anyone, I would say any employee in my district who wanted to carry, that could prove to me that they can do it safely, that they can handle it safely, that they have a cool head, because the last thing you also want is someone who is armed. Just go to a high school basketball game. Tensions run high.
Some people were high-strung riders.
Refs get assaulted. What happens when you throw guns in the mix? And who knows? But I don't think there should be a cap. I just think there should be a process, and that process should be fair to everyone.
When you have a CCW, though, you're trained. I don't know if you carry a gun. I carry a gun. I've carried a gun every day for 30 years. There's a calmness you have when you carry a gun. It's quite the opposite. You don't get in situations where things might escalate. It's quite the opposite. You get out of it, or you're very calm. So it's very different. CCW involves a lot of training, and we actually have had people who run gun classes that say they would, for a very low price, educate our teachers and people who wish to carry within the district.
Mr. Weber, I think that would be, for me, that would be really important. I don't know if it's a 40-hour class or what it is,
Right.
some sort of consistent training, what to do when the police are coming through the door, and
Right.
well beyond all this training that a CCW gets. Which
Right.
is, you put a lot more into it than I got for my training. I would really like to see, if we're educators are gonna have firearms in school, I think a training component would be really important for me. Consistent. Go ahead, I'm sorry, Kevin.
I would agree. My question is about the constitutionality of it. Then why isn't the bill getting rid of all exceptions? Or are you putting it on the backs of 5-year-olds? So I'm agreeing that, but there are other exceptions. So why aren't you going after courtrooms? Because they actually have armed people in there to protect those people. So when the bill comes up, I always wonder why it doesn't eliminate all exceptions.
Why is it just schools?
Because why is it just schools that, or you're being violated? Because I'm an ex-law enforcement officer as well. I'm saying if I'm violated in the school, I'm violated at the post office as well. So it seems to me, with my background in law enforcement and education, why are you just picking on one group of people, young children? Where we have adults, and we have attorneys in the room, and they're probably going, oh, look, we don't want people in the courtroom with guns, but I don't want them in my room with my kindergarten kid either. So that would be my question, is why are you cherry picking on exceptions to the Constitution?
You know, I just want to say to our legislators, I think Superintendent Mitchell brings up a good point, because you can hear from just a small number of people here, opinions, and I would encourage you to look at this in possibly a non-budget year, but meetings around the state. We've done them for many different things over the years, to hear from the constituents about the ideas that they have and the supports that they have or that they don't have, so that, you know, all sides can be heard. But I think a lot of good questions are asked and brought up just in this small room, to be able to get the input of people of Wyoming in that. I am also concerned about our most rural districts, Meeteetse being one of those. We have Valley and Wapiti, and weather and snow, and, you know, I don't think you could make it to Valley in 25 minutes or 30 minutes. I think you're talking an hour in that weather. And in good weather, yeah, sometimes in good weather. So, you know, it is a concern, and I think there's an answer. I think there's input to be given on how to do this to make sense and to get it done. And I think it would be a good faith showing to the people of Wyoming to begin to have discussions. It seems like when we have these very sensitive topics, we just don't want to talk about them. I don't want to sometimes, I'll be honest. It's hard. There's no way you make everybody happy when you start talking about things like this. But they're worth having a conversation about in our communities, where the public can respond and give ideas on both sides.
Well said. I think it's fair to say, and I look at the audience, you know, today, and clearly this wasn't maybe as advertised as some people thought it wasn't as it could have been. It got drummed up on social media yesterday and into today, and still we have a fairly good turnout of people that I think are here primarily for that reason. Not saying that there aren't here for other reasons as well, and I'm not going to call anybody out by having them raise their hands. But it's clear to see that if we have these types of sit-downs and talks with the public, you'll have turnout. There's no question. People are going to come on both sides of the issue to voice their opinions. And until you have that, I mean, again, I think it becomes back to the speculation idea. I mean, we can sit here as board members and give our opinions, but if we want to know where the people stand, I'm a fan of asking them.
You know, the key, really, and I think Mr. Scott, you know, this is a big deal, and we kind of got blindsided. Pretty much blindsided. This deserves an interim work. This deserves meetings like we had in the interim on recalibration. That people can come and testify. We can hear from administrators. We can hear from anybody that wants to testify, because we take public testimony after every item on our agendas. And this is something that has the ability to get worked out. Take it to the legislature and we can work it out. And if a joint committee working in the interim decides to sponsor that bill, it becomes a joint committee bill, which means that 14 legislators went through the due diligence in the interim and took testimony from anybody that wanted to testify. And this bill has been worked, and this bill has been looked at, because there's a lot of issues in here that one side doesn't bill. And so I think Mr. Strumpke makes a good point. I think Kevin makes a good point. It's going to take a dialogue, it's going to take a discussion, and it's not something that's going to happen overnight. It's going to have some sense.
I agree with you, Hank. I'm glad to hear Jay talk about what his going on in Meeteetse and what's going on in Valley and Wapiti. I've always been fearful of what happens in Hensley or some of the other little towns around. I mean, they're a half hour or more away from somebody coming there. So those are the communities that need, I mean, maybe Casper doesn't want it, maybe Cheyenne doesn't want it, but I think that for the rest of us, that there's something there.
Well, it's a dialogue that needs to take place with the university. Colleges, it's not just about the university. You know, a lot of the opposition we had to the bill came about from UW. They just didn't want everybody armed with Wyoming playing CSU in the arena auditorium. You know, as long as you don't let the guys that were in the ring come in there with guns, we're okay. But, anyway, it's a big dialogue issue, and it can get worked out, but it's gonna take some time.
I got a question.
Yeah, please.
Further, Senator Cole, Representative Margaret, somebody. How does a topic become an interim study?
Well, just like this, it's brought forward by somebody, and we can bring it forward and say to the management council, we'd like to have this as an interim subject. Maybe it's more than just one committee. Maybe you ought to have judicial involved with it also. Maybe it's not just about education, maybe.
Yeah, and the question is not necessarily I mean, normally the process for interim topics that we take to management council, which is a committee, mostly of leadership that runs the legislature. The joint chairs are like David and I, in conjunction with our staff on different topics for ruling. We take topics that we think need to be looked at in the interim to management council, and then they approve it. This particular issue could be judiciary. It could be from an aspect of maybe corporations as well. Cities, towns, counties. It could be education.
Well, and House Bill 114 went to my committee, went to Judiciary Committee in the House, and we had quite a bit of testimony on it. And it passed out of our committee 7-2 and went to the whole House floor. There's so many angles to this that you could find. You could even have a couple committees working on different aspects. But yeah, it's just honestly, it's just such an important issue to protect the kids. We got to figure out a way to. And as Trustee Weber said, I mean, it's a different time than it even was a year ago. I mean, with just the horrible carnage. I mean, we got to find a way to protect kids.
So can I ask then of the elected officials in this room, I find a lot of times, and I don't care if it's in business house or politics, people say it's a good idea, we should do it, and then everybody walks out of the room and the ball drops, because I don't know, maybe they think someone else is doing it or whatever. I'm hearing that it can be brought to a committee in the interim, or an interim committee or whatever. Will you do that? I mean, is that something, and I'm not looking for a pledge or anything, but will you say, yeah, I'll take it to the committee and we'll start looking at it, so we're not sitting 2 years out with it being dropped on a desk and going, hey, now what?
Well, I'd be glad to take it to leadership and say, I think it's an item for, as Representative Crum said, a super committee that we put together where we have some people from judicial, we have some people from education, we have some people from corporations, and that super committee then has a chance to work on it, not necessarily maybe all of education or all of judicial, but get some representation from each one of those so that they have a body there.
Well, and it's important too, David, as well. Like School Board Association, Brian Farmer, School Administrators Group, to have some input to whoever, whether it's you and I as chairman of education or whoever it is, to step up down there. You know, normally, anytime we have discussions at the end of the session on interim topics, we have great attendance in that room, and we sit down and start talking about topics, and they provide a lot of input. And so it gets school board administration, or anybody out there that wants to see this move forward, that'd be a good way to start.
I guess the other thing that I would say, I haven't seen anything yet. I haven't seen a comparable 114 and follow any talk of it. And Representative Yagi and I have talked on a few issues, and he hasn't mentioned that he's going to bring it again. So, and plus, I don't suspect with the budget situation that it get a lot of traction necessarily. I mean, but who knows? But I have not heard of any proposed legislation for this session. So it might make sense. The very next step would be get it on an interim committee and move forward. Yeah.
Because we need to have that great discussion that we're having today. We need to be able to have everybody voice their opinions, and it needs to be put together.
Well, that's great, I appreciate it. Any other comments? Mr.
I want
Schultz?
to make a comment. So, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about putting this agenda together. We talked about putting guns in schools on the agenda. And if you follow social media, it all blew up the last 2 days about, that I had a proposal or the superintendents had a proposal. We don't have a proposal. We don't have a bill, by the way. You're on your own. But we want to talk about it because school safety, everybody in this room cares about that. I don't have any question about it. But how do we make schools how do we increase that safety? I don't know how we do it. I know Jay's in McKee's been very strongly advocating for arming employees, and he's done that, for years and years, and we get that. And I think more school people are ready to support that notion. I don't know that, but I think they are. I'll speak for me and I'll speak for Mr. Mitchell. We understand the need for that, but let's use a reasonable process. How many times do you guys end up in legislative session and a bill drops on you, the second week of February, and then everybody's trying to rush down and deal with it? We don't even know what it is. I really like the interim committee. You take your time, you get the testimony, you hear from all the different groups, find out what they're doing in Texas and Kansas, and come up with a decent solution, and one that doesn't break the bank on insurance, and one that we can, feel comfortable with. I don't want to go home at night and feel more concerned about safety than before. But I'm totally convinced we have to do something different. I don't know what that's going to be, and I trust that with lots of good public comment and a well-run process, I'm comfortable with whatever that decision is. Have a good process, hear from lots of people, and be civil. And I'll live with whatever you come up with. I will follow it.
We're doing some things right now, joint education, particularly on school security. For $9 or $10 million out there, and this is just a small step. We have schools in the state that they couldn't even lock the front door. And, a shooter's gonna go in there, they're gonna shoot their way through the front door anyway, but they couldn't even lock the doors. And so we have taken that small step. I think it was $9.5 million. We programmed.
We've changed our schools
Yeah.
because of it.
And we appreciate
We have a
that.
different process,
Yeah.
so we appreciate that.
We do.
Great discussion, really a great discussion.
Oh, good.
Well, no, I was just gonna say, this has been a good discussion. I think, to see this go anywhere, it's gonna take, as we've all alluded to, a huge discussion with a lot of input from a lot of stakeholders. But even in this dialogue we've had tonight, I don't feel that we've even boiled down to whether we're talking about arming certain people in the schools that we're putting that responsibility on their shoulders to protect our students, or whether we're talking about simply just allowing guns on campus. And we're talking about way two different paths. One's an
Parallel
issue
issues.
of security and safety in our schools, and the other one's an issue of Second Amendment rights. Honestly, if we're gonna keep going down this path of talking about security and safety in our schools, I'll welcome that discussion. I think it's a discussion worth having. But obviously, it's a much bigger issue than, we haven't even gotten that far tonight as to which direction we go.
Well, 114 just about guns on campus.
Yeah. I can say for myself, that's something I can't support. If we're talking about security and safety, that's a whole nother dialogue. And I think that's a direction that I think we can get a lot of traction on and go a long ways with.
Well, I just have to say, I appreciate the community involvement too. I appreciate the people in the room coming here to get educated. Personally, I had, 20, 30, 40 emails, and they all said there was a secret meeting on gun control
Which is why we call the meeting in the public library.
going on in the public library. But the perception was there, it was very real. These are intelligent people. That's what they heard, that's what the Hubbub was. So I appreciate these people coming here, because you can realize this is a public forum with legislators, and control was added at the 9th hour to try to fill the meeting up. I mean, that's what really happened, and look what good came of it. I mean, I really think we've made some headway, so I appreciate that. You know, the other part, the secret part, you know, if the public perceives that it was a secret meeting, guess what? That's their perception. So, you know, personally, I'm talking to Ray, and from Park 6's standpoint, you know, we can do a better job communicating. Even if we put it on our websites or, you know, put it into social media. Here's the meeting, here it comes. You know, we're not gonna spend money with the enterprise, but, you know, I just want the public to know that we take it.
Don't take that offensively, Dennis.
We take it, we do take it personally, and it was first reported 3 weeks ago in the enterprise. We were having this meeting, just let the record reflect.
Well, Jake, just another point, you know, we were in this room 2 days ago. Legislators do this stuff, with all kinds of different groups. We were in here with the county commissioners from all 4 counties, right, this thing, 2 days ago.
Chamber of Commerce yesterday.
Chamber of Commerce and Park County Travel Council the day before. I've got a meeting coming up, with Stephanie Heitzwell and Mark Kitchen from Powell, talk about community college issues. You know, we do this all the time. We want to go to Cheyenne and be informed, go down there and have local input. That's all this forum is ever intended to do. We've been doing this on the record.
So now I'll throw it open to any items that the trustees have questions about, that legislators might want to